Hey, welcome.
My asshole is bleeding hard.
Thanks, Arin, for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Probably should get it checked out, dude.
At least put down a towel under the seat.
All right, whatever. Thanks for butt shaming me.
We got a special guest here today on the G Club. It's our buddy Jirard.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Jirard.
How's it going?
What's up, J-Rod?
Not much, man. How are you?
I call you J-Rod and I call Jared J-Rod.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not confusing at all for some people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Jirard, you're the completionist.
Yes, unfortunately.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
I complete games 100% all the time.
Why do you do this?
Oh, man.
Why do you do this?
Why do I do this?
Tell me. Answer me.
It starts floating off into space. Why do I do this?
Why am I here? I started completing games because my mom, growing up, she would tell me that I wasn't allowed to get a new game until I was done with the one I had.
Wait, really?
And
There's like a narrative to this?
Yeah, she was like,
You have a fucking completionist origin story?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, my mom was like, always like, well, you can't get a new one until you're completely done with the one that you have.
Like, she had to see a 100% on the screen.
Yeah, I had to explain to her, like, see, I did it. Like, I beat the game. It was usually the credits screen, so I never really... Sometimes I would complete it, like,
so
fully.
you were
but,
pro Jirard the Finishist for a time.
Yeah. I was definitely like, oh, man, like, Mom, look, I did it. And then I think, like, from when I was, like, 14 to 17, I, like, stopped playing games. I just was like, I'm in theaters, high school. I don't have time to play games. And it wasn't until RE4 came out where I was like, oh shit, yeah, video games are a thing. This is awesome. And I completed that. And then like it just like a resurgence happened where I was like, oh shit, what about this game? I'm gonna go pick this up. And I started like getting old school games again, and that kind of just went on through college. And I've just been doing it ever since.
But when you picked up games again with like Resident Evil, were you just finishing them or were you completing them?
Oh, when I picked up RE4, I was so happy playing it that I was like, yo, I gotta see if there's anything if I actually beat it and like get everything. And it just made me realize, oh, like that's a thing. When you get to the end, you get like a cheat code or a costume or an unlock or an exploit or something, and that was like super intriguing to me. Like, I wonder if every game has something like this. And so once trophies and achievements became a thing, I was like, oh man, there's a way to like log my progress. That's really, really cool. And then I realized that most of those achievements and trophies are actually really shitty, and they're just there to pad out the gameplay and not give you anything but a digital bragging thing.
Right.
And now I hate trophies and achievements.
Well, it kind of went from, here's something that I'm doing anyway just to see if I can and see if there is a carrot at the end of the stick.
Yeah.
It went from that to, oh, now I have to get these 500 collectibles because they put them in for the achievement, not because they're like, oh, we put these things in the game and maybe if you get them all, something happens.
Yeah.
Something a little less satisfying about knowing that the developers want you to do it as opposed to you just kind of inventing it for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I wonder if I can get through the game using only the Mega Buster and Mega Man or something, and then it's like Mega Man 9, it's like Buster only run, and it's like,
I wonder if I can take this garden gnome all the way through Half-Life 2 episode 2.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an achievement.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's lame.
Apparently it's super buggy too, because you have to put it in the car and there's no place for it in the car, so you just have to like wedge it in with the physics.
But that makes it feel like it wasn't supposed to, like,
yeah. Well, maybe the game didn't launch with achievements and they added them. I don't know.
I feel like achievement culture has become a lot more prevalent these past few years just because to be a true gamer, you have to at least beat the game and get that trophy. It's like each trophy has different weight. Is it bronze? Is it gold? Is it platinum? Did you do it? Is your gamer score now up there? And it's become a lot more about
That's true.
Who can get the most points, the fastest, the quickest, and the most efficient, and then move on to the next game and do that same thing. Like, I respect Ray formerly of Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunters, because he essentially was a completionist for them, and he still does it on his streams when he's on Ron
He
Brown
plays
Man.
a lot of shitty games.
He does, but he's always like, this is the best way to get the achievements, and this is the most efficient way, and even though this game sucks, like, you can get everything in 5 minutes.
Right.
And
yeah, wasn't that a thing, like the Avatar The Last Airbender 360 was like you could get it in like the first 10 minutes of the game. You get all the achievements, and then you're like, that's my gamer score
resale
right
value
up.
spiked when that news dropped.
Yeah, that's
probably
it's crazy because it just I like that idea of like, oh man, I can get every achievement in 5 minutes, like a fun thing. But for every game to have really long and impossible gameplay capabilities, like the one reason why I won't review Halo is because when I pick games on the show, I'll pick games that are like the most definitive versions that are available. Like, oh, this one just got remastered on 3DS or Wii U or Switch or Xbox One or PS4. And so that's like, if I'm buying the game today, what's the version that I can get that's not fucked up? The one that everyone can buy, that can get quick access, so that if my video is good for them, it'll make them go, oh, I want to play that game. How can I get it as quick as possible, or the easiest way without breaking the retro bank, if you will? And there was something, oh man, I just lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
You mentioned Halo.
Halo, yes, Halo. So for the Xbox One version of Halo, for like the Halo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 collection that you can get on Xbox One, they created new and really long achievements that you're supposed to accumulate over the course of your years playing the game. So it's like, and there are micro achievements that are not in the realm of actual achievements. It's micro achievements within the game that lead to bigger achievements. So it's like, get 100 headshots, get 1,000 headshots, get 10,000 headshots, get 100,000 headshots, win 100 matches, win 300 matches, win 1,000 matches, 10,000 matches, 100,000 matches. It's obviously meant to be played over the course of X amount of years, but that's just creating excessive gameplay for the sake of creating excessive gameplay. They want gamers to keep playing Halo for years and years and years. And I get that, but when the gameplay doesn't evolve from anything but just shooting people and playing that kind of arena style shooter, then you're just giving people more reason to play versus, oh, I'm gonna play with my friends today because I want to play Halo with my friends. And it creates this weird competitive environment that's just kind of, in my opinion, gross. Like I don't want to play Halo that long.
You're kind of metagaming yourself. You're like, oh, like I only have to play 500 more games to get this achievement. Guess I'm going to keep playing even though it's not fun for me anymore.
Yeah, I reviewed Gears of War last year to celebrate Gears of War 4, which was ironically my worst video like in the past 3 or 4 years in terms of performance. And I went through hell just for all the multiplayer achievements to the point where no one's playing Gears of War online. So I had to buy several Xboxes in my office and create like a digital LAN network so that I could farm these achievements because no one was playing Gears of War. And
Jesus,
like I hate that aspect of completing games because again, it's just padding out these achievements just to show your friends, hey, like I did this, I got all these headshots and these kills and these wins,
right?
And then you get to games that they weren't patched or they weren't properly programmed, so achievements become unachievable to get, or
some are just glitched in the game and just don't trigger sometimes,
or you have to do something to make it trigger that has nothing to do with the actual gameplay. Assassin's Creed has that a lot. Like I completed Assassin's Creed and there was a common error in the 360 version I didn't know about where a flag will just disappear. You have like a 1 in 4 chance that the flag that you need in the game to complete it will disappear. So I had to replay the game twice to try and make sure that flag didn't disappear. And it's like, that's just shit that never got patched, never got figured out. But the community who's still playing that game or is actively talking about that game still knows about it full throttle. They know, oh yeah, we know all about it, and this is why it happens, and the values and all this stuff. So it's very
all the code.
Yeah, and it's very fascinating because then they just keep making games that are just worse reiterations of what started it all. And so
did you talk about that in your video?
I did. And it sucked. It really sucked because I had every achievement but that one, and I had to go back and do it again. And then the same bug happened and I had to do it again. And you think that, it's fascinating that Assassin's Creed, that version of Assassin's Creed specifically never got remastered. The first one never got remastered. 2 and all the ones afterwards have been remastered a few times, but they never remastered the first one.
I guess Ubisoft just really hates Patrice Désilets.
I guess so.
I remember when Assassin's Creed first came out, and it was like this is just a Prince of Persia clone, and
made by the people who made Prince of Persia.
Yeah, and it's like now who gives a shit about Prince of Persia? Assassin's Creed is a fucking $1 billion industry on its own.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that like even with the advent of social media, you don't see people tweet about, at least within my bubble, I don't see a lot of people tweet about achievements of like, oh, I got this achievement in this game, unless it's like some an insanely rare, hard to get thing. What you do see occasionally is someone being like, oh, I got like this platinum trophy, like I got every trophy in the game.
Yeah.
Like it only matters if you get all of them. And it's completely arbitrary what constitutes that platinum trophy or wherever the Xbox equivalent of that is.
Not to mention that when DLC gets released, it like still outweighs the need for the platinum trophy. Like Resident Evil 7 is a prime example. I completed that game, easy platinum, loved playing that game. It was a ton of fun. DLC came out, added like 5 to 10 more trophies, and I still had the platinum. So it's
they don't count to the platinum.
They don't count to the platinum. So it's like, why would I?
Right.
Just to make sure that everything looks good, I guess. Like
just to fill up that bar next to the name of that game.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at my gamer score online, you'll see that like how it usually looks is like 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%. Like 75%, but the platinum is still there, and then 100%, 100%. Because I don't want to go back and make another video about a game that had DLC. The DLC was like kill this character in the very beginning of the game. It's like, great, I would have gotten that anyways. Why make it out a trophy right when you boot it up? And that's kind of like what DLC trophies have become. It's just like, do this task that's super easy to do and you'll get a trophy. And I'm sure a lot of people out there are going to disagree, but it's kind of what happens nowadays. They kind of attach trophies to DLC products. People will go back not only to play the DLC, but to like have a reason to keep replaying that DLC.
Right.
It's very, very bizarre.
And I'm pretty sure that both Microsoft and Sony require developers put achievements in their games now, right?
It is a requirement.
Yeah.
And it's actually why games like Sonic Mania, for instance, probably don't have a platinum trophy in it. Like I think there has to be a certain threshold or investment in your game in order for Sony or Microsoft to recognize it as a big enough title to warrant a platinum trophy or a trophy or an achievement that's you got all the achievements. And I think just because they value it differently, or I don't know if it's a pay scale or something, but it definitely is a thing where like that's probably
it has
why
to be a real game in order to have a platinum.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like but it's all made up.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting
digital currency that does nothing.
Right.
Like, it'd be one thing if I could take my trophy points and like redeem them for more games or buy
get like a free
theme.
month of PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, but really it's a digital plaque that no one's ever going to look at unless I'm like, hey, I'm your friend. Look at how big my ego is by looking at my trophy list. Like no one, at least from my perspective, no one really cares about that kind of thing unless you're that completionist out there who loves that stuff.
But it's, and I think, I mean, it's been a while, but I think when the PS3 added trophies, because I've had Sony consoles, I don't have a lot of experience with Microsoft consoles, their achievement system, but I think they added the idea of hidden trophies later on.
Yeah.
I don't think they existed at the beginning, where it just says there's a trophy, but doesn't tell you the name of it, what the description is, so it's sort of left as a secret for you to discover. 9 times out of 10, it's just story stuff.
Yeah,
that just is locked out so you don't spoil it for yourself.
Yeah.
But occasionally it is something that's actually rare. I just think it's interesting that because it's a requirement, I think some, especially indie developers, kind of get a little bit sneaky, where I think the first game that struck me with this sort of idea was Braid, which I first played on the PS3, and it had trophies because it had to have trophies. And the trophies for Braid are for beating every single world and then for speedrunning the game under a certain time limit.
Yeah.
None of the stars are included as trophies whatsoever. And that's like the big, huge secrets in that game are all the stars.
I think Undertale recently got a physical release.
Yes.
And all their trophies and achievements are like...
They're jokes.
Yeah, it's like get 1 item, get 2 items.
But the name of
the
name of the achievement is don't worry, I have lots of ideas for trophies. And it's get 1 item. And then 2 is like, still got lots of ideas. And then by the end, it's just like, oh shit, like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have any ideas for these anymore. Yeah, but
But it's perfect for a comedy game like Undertale to use the trophies for a real joke. They added this whole room in the PS4 port of Undertale, which is it's a shrine where you can donate money to a dog. And if you donate up to the certain threshold and then leave and then return, he buys an item with your donations. And you can do this 15 times, and every time you do it, you get a trophy. and it's pointless. It's entirely just jokes about like wasting your money and wasting your time.
Yeah.
But there's 15 trophies, including gold trophies, that are locked behind that, and it's all just, it fits in perfectly with that game. But I think not every game is designed around the idea of trophies and achievements and things like that. And that's where I find things like Braid interesting, where there's huge parts of that game they just don't even acknowledge. They're just like, yep, you get trophies for playing the game.
Yeah.
We're just gonna keep it. It's not why we made this game. But the idea of completing it is independent of the trophy system, of the achievement system.
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
stuff in that game, and it was also something that I wanted to ask you, that in a lot of these games, especially older games that don't have these systems in them, how do you determine when you've completed it? Because there's a difference between finishing a game and completing it.
Absolutely. There's
which
a big
you
difference.
even acknowledge in all of your reviews. You have a finishing kind of score and a completing score.
Yeah. Well, the completed score and finished score are designed not so much for like, I guess it's like my rating system, if you will, but like I don't really see it as numbers because I hate number systems. I really disagree with them across the board.
I'm not going to fight you there.
Yeah, but I think completing a game, to me, like complete it, is this game is so good regardless of its flaws that it's a good time to really play every aspect of it. Finishing it is like, okay, I beat the game, I beat the narrative, don't need to pick it up again and get the extra trophies. Play it is like, okay, I played it for a good few hours, I'm ready to walk away from it, look at it, it's like, oh, look at the box art, it's pretty. Don't know if I want to actually open it, but it looks pretty cool in the box. And then donate it is like, okay, yeah, I probably should not touch this game, I'm gonna throw it in the donation pile. But
it's a much more what's the word, relatable scale than it's a 4 out of 5 star. It's like, I don't know what that means. That could be 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people.
Right.
Whoa, so what's your process? Like, what do you do immense research on how to complete a game before you play it?
Yes, every game we probably spend about 4 to 8 hours worth of research to make sure that before we even turn the console on, is it possible to get everything in the current climate of the game? So, if it's like a 360 game or a PS3 or current game console, is the online service working? Are there any known bugs to prevent us from getting the trophies or achievements? Can we do workarounds or something to make those achievements happen? Glitches that could potentially break the game, anything like that, we need to know going into it, because if we get to that point in the game where, oh shit, this thing is unattainable, and it's Thursday night at 3 a.m. going into Friday where episode goes live and we still don't have the game completed, you can look at my trophy score right away and see that I lied through my teeth. And so I have, like, that's the unfortunate thing about the show, is I actually have to do my fucking job, or else people will call me out and say I didn't actually do it. And so we do a lot of intense research to make sure that whatever is completable in the time is actually completable. I wanted to do an episode on Arkham Origins, and I can't complete the game because they had a like, I think their online service with GameSpy or something like that, and they no longer exist. So you can't play Batman Origins online anymore to get those, or Arkham Origins to get those achievements and trophies. And so, because I'm expected to get everything, it kind of sways my decision if I can actually do it or not.
So with modern games, completing it often means just getting all the achievements,
getting all the trophies, getting all the achievements, any secret ending or special costumes or abilities.
So even if it doesn't have an achievement tied to it, you're trying to get every piece of content that's in that game.
Absolutely.
Has there ever been a game where you played it and like there were modes that just were completely inconsequential to completing it, so you just ignored them?
I didn't. There have been modes like that, but I've never ignored them, because the fishy thing to me, and this is what makes some of the episodes more fascinating than others, is the lack of communication about those modes. So if there's a mode that exists that has not enough information on it, it means that no one's actually ever completed it, or they completed it and there wasn't a reward, or there was nothing to really talk about that mode. And so those are always the ones where I'm like, why didn't anyone talk about this? Why was there no information at all about it? And then I'll deep dive into it, and 9 out of 10 times it's like, oh man, there's nothing here. Of course there's nothing to talk about. But then there'll be that one moment where it's like, oh shit, because I did this, there actually was a thing. Like, Sonic Mania is a prime example. They didn't really talk about it, but there's a secret ending in the game that involves Knuckles. And so if you know how to get that mode and how to do it and everything, it's like that's a really cool Easter egg that most people wouldn't even probably bat an eye at. But because I did everything in the game, I was able to figure that out on my own. And mind you, Sonic Mania, by the time I played it, no one knew anything about it in regards to achievements, trophies, how to get them. And that's kind of the fun thing about getting new games early before most people is figuring out what it's like to complete a game without research, without a guide, without someone telling me, hey, do this. And those ones are really, really exciting. But yeah, I definitely have to go into the unknown just to say for that one person who's like, you didn't actually complete it. And those are the conversations I have with people like Collins more so than not, is you didn't actually do it. And it's like, no, I did. And then it's back and forth like, well, technically you didn't do it on the hardest setting. It's like, I did. And it's like, no, you didn't. It's just, it becomes
There's always something.
Yeah. It turns into a witch hunt sometimes.
Well, because to me, the idea of completing a game in certain games could almost be seen as an impossible act. If you think of, because again, completing a game is a self-defined thing. The game isn't going to tell you, yep, you've done everything in the game. Because even if there's achievements for that, there's stuff in the game that's not an achievement. You could count Easter eggs as part of completing a game. Of like, I want to see everything this game has. Okay, time to scrub every square inch of this game. So, and when you were talking about different modes, you mean things like if there's like an endless level mode to a game or something where it's like, oh, we're just gonna keep throwing shit at you forever and see how long you survive. Like, you'll just try to push that as far as you can. Yeah, it's things that if there's a scoring system in which you have to rank and get a certain ranking, I'll definitely do it. So things like the challenges in Super Mario, New Super Mario Bros. U, they have like gold, silver, and bronze ranking if you get the best scores, and so you don't get anything for doing them. There's no recorded thing that you get for beating them, but I have to, being the completionist, I have to prove, it's like turning in my homework. I have to show my proof, and this is why my opinion's this way, and this is the evidence that I did it. And so, I have to do those mundane tasks sometimes that really, in the grand scale of being a content producer, is like 3 to 10 seconds of footage of like, I fucking did it. Thanks for coming by. Like, those 8 hours of my life.
8 hours of my, usually more than that, depending on the game. But
I mean, for like 1 second of footage, like that one part of the game, it's like that much time. Completing a game can take, I don't even want to know how long. Yeah, some and the sad thing is, my show is not like it's like a review show, but it's also like I over the years, I view myself as someone who is not so much a reviewer, but someone who just appreciates games, both good and bad. It's like a video game appreciation show where it's like, let's talk about why this game sucks. Let's talk about why it's good. Let's kind of find everything in between. And I've kind of put myself in that position of, no matter what happens, I have to complete the game. And that gets super stressful when you do games like Skyrim or Metal Gear Solid, where the tasks required are just asinine. Getting big boss ranking on Metal Gear Solid 1 was one of the hardest things I ever did, because you have to beat the whole game under 3 hours without being spotted once, without killing anyone. And I think it took me over 75 runs to do it. And I went from being a gamer who knew Metal Gear Solid very lightly to, I'm now a speedrunner. I now know the glitches and the methods, and I have to use and abuse them to get the goal of this ranking. And then to finally get there and be like, I actually got nothing for it but this little screen that says I did it. Well, now I fucking did it, so here you go. I did it for that one shot. And you look at the amount of the writing and the producing and the editing and the acting for the people who are involved in the show sometimes, and it always outweighs the need to do it. But it's also, again, I have to live up to that title of, I'm the completionist. I'm not the finishist. I have to actually do what I say I'm going to do. And that always ends up becoming way bigger than I anticipated. And that's the crux of the show that I really fucked up on when I started. But I think that at this point, when I started, like, I had to make that commitment. Whether if it was the completionist or if I was something else, like,
I have to do a video a week. And that's why in the newest version of the show in its current state, I really emphasize how hard this fucking job is, because I show stat screens, I show items that help, that didn't help, I show all my data out there, because it's like, really is not easy. Completing a game off camera is one thing when it's in the privacy of your own home and you're doing it for fun. It's another when all eyes are on you and you have to write and produce and pay people and staff. I mean, you know, all that stuff. It's like it becomes this larger than life production where for 48 hours to 72 hours on YouTube, this video is important, and then it becomes super old, and then people forget about it, and it's just like almost like a digital imprint of my own trophy of, I did this game. And so if someone's like, I wonder if he did that, they can go search that, and boom, I did fucking do it.
Right. It exists in the vault.
Yeah, the vault.
Well, and I think it's kind of tying into what you were saying, that so much of the time that you spend to complete these games is things that I don't even think the developers of the game intended everyone to do. I mean, I don't know, I'm sure it depends on what the game is, but a vast percentage of players never finish the games they start. And even those who finish it, they're just getting to the credits. They're beating the game.
Yeah.
And that's usually my goal when I sit down to play a game. It's like, I just want to see credits. I want to get to the end. And it usually takes something special for me to then go that extra step and go back into the game and try to get all the gold gemeralds of whatever. But then there's shit like the Korok seeds in Breath of the Wild, which it makes fun of you for getting them all, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they did not intend people to get them. They gave you, it's 800, right?
900.
900. So there's 900 of those little leaf bastards hiding in the woods because it makes the world feel filled with shit.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to get them all, but you had to, because that's what it means to complete that game, is to get every single one of them.
The thing that bummed me out about Breath of the Wild was it took me about 6 weeks to complete the game, and I released the video, and my biggest gripe with the game was, if you're going to have a mechanic where you have to get 900 of this one item over and over again, you can kind of track it by showing, oh, I actually got it, but there was no indication or no kind of gameplay mechanic that would allude to that kind of mystery. I mean, the idea is that you just kind of wander and find it, sure, but when you say there's 900 of these bastards in the game, I challenge you to find them all, you find them all, and you get a golden turd for your reward, it's like, oh, I get it. I get the irony in that. But it would be different if they were like, you need to get this one item that's super hard to get that will help you find these other 900 things. And then after I made my video, like literally 7 days later, Nintendo released a patch update that was like, by the way, there's now a Korok mask that shows you where the nearest Korok seed is.
Right.
And it's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Scott Cawthon did that with Five Nights at Freddy's and me, because he's very on top of the gaming community when he makes these games. And, you know, between me and Matt Pat always like making videos about it. He retroactively updates the game after I've made my video, because I'll find things that are like, I got nothing for completing this game. Like, what the fuck? These games are stress-inducing. They're really hard. They're not meant to be beaten. I beat the goddamn game. You make this big deal of someone not doing it, and then I actually do it, and there's no reward. And then like the top comment on the video is Scott Cawthon being like, oh, thanks for pointing that out. The game's been updated. Thank you very much. And I sit there and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, send me an email or a tweet or something. Like, and I know he's watching because he comments on all of them and it's like, good job, Jirard, keep it up. And it's like, that's great. My therapist thinks it's hilarious, but like, it's just they're actively engaging sometimes, the devs that do that, and I appreciate it, but it's also like, come on, you
couldn't have done this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you couldn't do it 2 weeks. You had to wait for me to make my video, and now you can retroactively do your thing.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because there's also something to be said about the argument that every achievement should have a reward. That everything you do in a game should have some treasure chest at the end. Because, I mean, especially with older games, pre-achievement systems and before completing games was really a big thing. I mean, maybe Metroid was one of the first games that was like, you should 100% this thing. We're going to give you a percentage.
Yeah.
But even then, it wasn't super common for a game to push you that far. Besides just like high score systems.
Well, and there's but even in that, in regards, speaking of Metroid, Super Metroid's a prime example. If you beat it under 3 hours
Prime.
with all the items in Prime, yeah.
No, you said prime
But
example.
did I say, oh, Prime?
Sorry.
Well, in Metroid Prime 2 as well. In TOO. When you complete Super Metroid under 300 hours, all the items, you get to see, Samus in her bikini. It's like, well, it's not really a thing I want to experience. I don't really care about that. But like the fact that there was something and you get to it and you're like, fuck yeah, I got this screen. No one else has it, or it's like really hard to get. That's a show of skill. That's a show of investment that, oh man, there was something at the end of the rainbow. There was a pot of gold. Right. Whether or not the gold is good or that it's relevant to you, that's a different story. But the fact that
there's an acknowledgement from the designer saying you did this thing that very few did.
Absolutely. And in some cases, when the challenge and the chase of it's there, that's awesome. But in some moments when the dev is like, there is a thing there, go get it, and you get it, and it's just, they don't even acknowledge it or say anything. It's like, then why even put it in the game? If you give me a 100% meter to track my progress, give me something tangible. Give me a photo, a postcard, a thanks for playing, behind the scenes footage. That's why I really like God of War, because when you complete the game, it's like, call this number and talk to Kratos. And you're like, all right, sure. And it's like, you did this, congratulations. And you're like, that's fucking cool. Thanks, Kratos. I'll see you in the next game. Like it's cool things like that where it's like, it's not about what's there. It's about actually just getting something in general. And that's kind of the crux of the show, is that I want to know what's at the end of the rainbow. But more importantly, when you have these media outlets review these games, they don't tell you what's at the end of the road. And so that's the two reasons why I started The Completionist were, one, I met you, Arin, and your inspiration was crazy important to me because I didn't know anything about YouTube, and you were like, hey, this is a thing that I do, and like it was super inspiring, and that's like what launched me into it. And the second thing was, at the time I was working at Best Buy selling games, and I just was like tired of telling people to buy games without knowing anything about them, let alone trying to convince them, oh, this game's worth $60. How do you do that? Here's the IGN score, here's the Kotaku score, but those scores don't tell you anything about the time investment. They say, oh, I played this game, it's a 9 out of 10, and it's like, how long is the game? What are the mechanics like? What do I have to do to beat it? Is there an actual reason to play these games? And that's kind of like why I started it. I was like, I want to fucking know the investment these people are putting into, because if they're going to talk about these games professionally, I got to know if my money's worth the time investment.
Right. Yeah, and maybe it's the world's best racing game, but you don't like racing games.
Right.
There's so many variables.
And it's $60. Yeah. That's a lot of fucking money. $60. That's why like Sonic Mania is $20. Shovel Knight was $15. These games that have a lot of replay value and a lot of purpose are great for people who grew up playing games and they don't feel like their money is being wasted because there is a lot of replay value and there is purpose to it. Whereas like, I don't want to pay $60 for another version of Madden. Guess what? It's Madden. Like, they're going to make another one next year, and yeah, they're going to make changes, but I'll just wait for Madden to be $20 before I pick it up if I really like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when I was younger, that was 100% the case. That, I mean, also when I think we're all kids, there were just fewer games coming out, and also we largely had less disposable income to spend on games. So it was like you got your 1 or 2 games, maybe a summer or maybe a year. So it was really important to be able to get that mileage out of it. And having those extra secrets and things to complete the game just gave you so much more value out of that experience. And now, the older I get, partially because I have more disposable income, partially because I have way less time for games in general, I just value getting a tight, complete package above all else of just like, I want to get in, play a game, get out. And having a game that has 900 collectibles isn't appealing to me. Having a world that I can explore depends on the circumstance. I mean, Zelda was a stellar example of that, but there's a billion open world games that I just don't care about. And part of that is because you open up the map and it's just flooded with icons. And you're like, all right, time to check some boxes. It's like playing an MMO. And I don't find that kind of shut off my brain gameplay very compelling. It's good to wind down after a long day maybe, but that's not what I'm usually looking for when I play games. And I don't know. It just feels like completing a game went from something kind of special, like we were saying with Metroid, and the developers sort of put it in as sort of a bonus, a little Easter egg kind of thing, to thanks to things like achievement systems. now there's like a whole metagame layer to every game where you can't just sit down and have an experience without the OS of the system you're on sending pop-ups every 20 minutes being like, hey, you're playing a game, good job. And all it does is just pull you out of the experience. And I don't know. I don't know exactly what point I'm even trying to make necessarily. It's just that like gaming has changed, you know. And
well, I think it's expensive to make games, right? And in a lot of cases, you know, it's super expensive to make a game that's even like 3 hours long, and 3 hours long by any other media standards is like a pretty long time. You know, a film that's 3 hours long is considered fucking drawn out. And then, you know, not to mention television shows, you know, it's like a 6-episode season is 3 hours long. Mm-hmm. So you have all these people that want the most value for their dollar by creating an $80 game. It's like, well, I get 80 hours of entertainment out of it. But typically that isn't anything that's, you know, good. It's usually padded like crazy, and it actually has maybe like 5 hours of gameplay. Right. Which is why Resident Evil 4 was such a fucking triumph, because like every hour of that 30-hour experience had like weird new shit in it that was so bizarre and over the top, and like how did they pay for that? I don't know. I still don't know.
They remade that game like 5 times.
Yeah,
no one knows.
Probably why they did that was because it was so fucking expensive. But my point is that, at least from a personal perspective, is I don't give a shit about completing games. I mean, no offense, I'm not offended. But I feel like it's more of a social thing. It's whenever I talk about a game in great detail, people, the number one question I get asked is, did you beat it? Mm-hmm. And typically the answer is no, because if I don't like a game, why would I beat it? Why would I put that much time into it and devote that much of my fucking life into something that I did? Because you can get a sense of what a game is after an hour, hopefully. But, I mean, and that's still a lot of time.
How many Final Fantasies have been recommended to you where people are like, no, it gets really good after hour 20?
Yeah, it's like, well, okay, I doubt it, because what I'm worried about is the game, and I don't think it's changed at all at that point. And if it does, then I think that's kind of a flaw. Why does it take that long to get good?
If you don't like your dinner, why are you eating dinner? Just put it aside and go get a burger. Like, that totally makes sense.
We're drowning in options. And, you know, I think it's... I mean, part of it, that's the social aspect, is like, well, if I love something, I just want everyone to love it. And if you hate it, then that just sort of... It hurts. Because it's... People treat it like it's a part of them that you're attacking, when it's not. It's a thing you like, and you can like it in spite of the entire world if you want to.
Yeah.
But it's just so fascinating to me to hear you talk about completing games, and it's this brand that you've built, and it largely seems very unsatisfying.
Yeah, I definitely, you know, when I started doing what I do, the first 2 years I was having a blast, because I was doing games that I know and love. And so it was so fun to talk about Brave Fencer Musashi, which is like this JRPG by Square Enix that no one's ever really heard of. And that's so fun to talk about, because I grew up playing the shit out of that game. And, you know, Mario RPG, I love talking about games that I really know and love. But as the show kind of has progressed, it's like I look at the scope of things and I go, I ran out of Marios, I ran out of Sonics and Zeldas and those big experiences, and all I have left are these big question marks of new games that are in my wake, and the occasional revisiting of a remastering of a game that I used to play when I was a kid. And that's the part that makes it not so fun, because it's like, won't he complete it? And will he have the same opinion as me? Those are the two factors that people think when they watch the show. And because I love games so much, people generally agree with me, because I find the good in games versus the bad. But there will be games that I'm like, this just wasn't for me, and people are like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like the fandom situation, the fandom's kind of taken a run with it. But you're right, there have been many moments in my career where I've just been like, I think I'm ready to move on to something else. But you know, then I see the results of what I've created, and it just kind of reassures me that this is a crazy business that I've started. It's a crazy venture, but you know, seeing fans and buying the merch and, you know, creating new things. It's just, I like creating stuff, and to see people kind of support that thing while the completionist is there is like a really cool and satisfying thing. And I think that's really the reason why I keep doing it, is because people are really liking what I'm creating. And I guarantee you that if no one watched, I wouldn't still be doing it, because I would have been like, all right, it's time to move on to something else. But the fact that the people are joining the conversation and a part of it and supporting it is what means a lot to me. It means they're supporting my crazy need to complete games.
I think the thing that's really valuable about your brand specifically is like when I watch one of your videos, I know that your opinion is rock fucking solid, however it is, because there's literally no more information that could sway your opinion one way or the other. You know that game inside out. It's not like you read a review from whatever big news outlet out there, whatever, and you don't know a lot about them. You don't know how much of the game they played. You have the little blurb at the bottom that's like, we received a review copy like 3 days ago, and it's like they have 100 games that they're playing. They're just knocking them out, and you don't know if that. What I mean, we talked earlier briefly about like, oh, I don't know what like a 7 out of 10 means, but you also don't know like, okay, I guess they beat the game, but you know, maybe it's a game where you're meant to play it. Like, it's like if you reviewed Spelunky and you played it through once and you died in the first world. It's like, well, I had that experience and I'm done with it. It's like, that's not what that game is. And it's hard to convey that in a written or video review. Like, that's why I think so many reviews are the bullet point list of things in the game and if they think they worked or not. They're not deep dives into what they are. But with you, you're talking about what the entire experience is, literally everything that game has to offer, and it's a much fuller package for better and for worse.
And I think to go with that point too, I think that's what kind of sways the audience as well, right? Like, I'm definitely not the biggest YouTuber to come along, but it's been a snowball because retro, especially completionist culture, is becoming more prevalent nowadays, and I'm kind of fulfilling this niche that wasn't really there to begin with, and that's really satisfying. But then again, it goes to value, like, you know, like, does this brand appeal to a mass audience? And generally speaking, it doesn't. And so that's why I've been so passionate about like making this, trying to convince an audience, not trying to convince, but really kind of putting my heart and soul into it and seeing what people say. And I always find it fascinating when like celebrities or like other news media people are like, oh yeah, I watch your videos all the time at work, and you're a part of my daily routine and my culture. And it's like that blows my mind, because it's like they're not even completionists themselves, but they want to know if they should become one for a certain game that they really love.
Sure. And
the fact that companies like Nintendo and Sega recognize that and support me in those motions, they feel comfortable in promoting my brand and you know, really showing people, hey, like, this guy knows what he's talking about. That's why I get really emotional when I read reviews on new game, because I'm like, you didn't actually play it. Like, I can read through the bullshit instantly, because again, I'm way more of an optimist than I should be. I really should focus on the bad a lot more, but I can definitely tell when someone picked the controller and was like, I played it for 3 minutes and put it down. And to kind of go against your point, Aaron, you were like, well, I can get the feel of the game right away, and that's actually a good point. People can play a game right away. That's why there's always this early access kind of phenomenon we're in, where the game gets a preview build years before the game's out, just to get feedback. But because of that notion, people can determine right away, oh, this game's not for me, and they can establish that that's not what I want to do. But at the same time, it has the opposite effect as well, where people are like, I like this game, I want to keep playing this game, and I want to support the devs as they make the game to kind of hone their craft, if you will, and take that feedback and run with it. But you don't get that experience in console games, because they're giving you the complete package, hopefully.
After a day one patch.
Well, day one patches are one thing, right? But like, if you are making a game that's like, there's nothing else to be done with it, and this is it, then kudos on you. Like, I know when Mario Odyssey comes out that we're not going to need to worry about a $30 monthly or yearly subscription fee just to get more Mario Odyssey content. They made the package, and you can ingest it any way you want. And that to me is way more important than DLC or add-on stuff. But
so when you complete the games, you're recording the footage the whole time, right?
every single thing. Almost every single thing. For my first playthrough, for narrative and plot, I'll record every single thing. And then for subsequent playthroughs, just for like, second and third runs, I won't record any footage until the final boss fight if there's a trophy, achievement, or something I unlocked.
Because visually there's no difference.
There's no difference. Yeah. Right. But yeah, I generally record every single thing. Thank God for Google Drive Business, because I have unlimited storage and I just upload everything. I probably have I think almost 80 terabytes of footage on Google Drive. Yeah. I used to actually, it's really funny if you're a big fan of Honest Game Trailers, they used to pay me to give them footage. All the footage in their videos is old completionist footage. So if you look at the frames, you'll see Jirard and all that stuff. They used to pay me to just sell them my footage archives, because everywhere you go, there's watermarks and whatnot. But that was stressful, because they'd be like, we need a shot of peppy hair looking funny. And I'm like, I fucking Google it. I don't know. I can't do that. But
I actually almost reached out to you once because I needed footage from Spider-Man 2 for a video I was making. And I think eventually I just captured it myself, but I was like, I bet Jirard has Spider-Man 2.
Absolutely, I do.
It's I just needed web slinging with all of his abilities unlocked.
Yep. I definitely have that.
Yeah.
If you ever need something, just ask. I probably have it on a hard drive or on Google Drive, and I can just share it with you.
Exactly.
But yeah, for the most part, I record almost every experience just in case, especially because the Elgato hardware always craps out on me. And so even with Shadow Play on, I'm like, please be good, please be good. So I've had to sometimes redo whole games over just to get this once in a lifetime shot or an achievement proc that I really wanted to talk about, and just shit happens. So I try my best to get everything that I can when I make videos.
I remember when I was working on the Zelda sequelitis with Arin, there's a part of it where you mentioned how in Ocarina of Time you can throw a bomb in infinite directions because it's all 3D, and then in Link to the Past it's 4 directions, left, right, up, down. And you had given me your captured playthrough of Link to the Past, and I went through the entire game, and there was never a part of the game where you threw a bomb to the right. That game only requires you throw bombs up, down, and left. Wow. There's not a single part of that game where or maybe it's left and right or swapped or whatever. But so I took footage of you throwing it one way and just flipped the image. But I was like, I might have to bust out a Super Nintendo. Before I was like, oh, I can just flip it. But at a moment where I was like, I'm gonna have to bust out a Super Nintendo and capture throwing a bomb.
See, that's the shit that makes me fucking scared to make another sequelitis. It's like it's exactly that. Where it's like I want to criticize stuff, but then I know something like that's gonna pop up. I release a video and people are gonna be like, well, you never have to do that, and I'm just like, fuck, you don't? Shit. I don't want to scour every goddamn second of the game that I'm criticizing to see whether or not what I'm saying is true or not. But does that make it then an invalid video? I don't know.
You just have to put an asterisk after every single sentence.
Yeah.
Where instead of... Because it's a much more powerful, persuasive argument to be like, this is how it is. But unless you have firsthand experience that that's how it is, you have to be like, well, maybe there's 1 or 2 examples where that's not the case.
Yeah.
But that's not fun. But I mean, I've been working on my next How About This game, and I have 30, 40 hours of capture because I'm trying to make those kinds of statements of this game never lets you do this, or this game never has this. And it's like, I want to be able to say that, but that requires I play every single level inside and out.
That's almost as bad as completing a game, because
almost
that's
it's completing it in a different sense. It's
trying to find a point or something to prove that you're correct.
Something the game will never check off a box for you.
Yeah,
you're digging into the game to kind of figure it out on a different level. But yeah, Link to the Past, you never throw bombs to the right.
Well, that's always fascinating to me too. Is I hear that you have all this footage, and I'm almost kind of curious because, like you said, you got S rank on every Mario Wii U level or whatever.
Yeah.
It's I want to see that. I want to see you struggling to get there, because that's and the fact that it's like you're getting like emotional over it. Like that's exciting to me. I want to see that footage, you know.
I created a show for about 3 or 4 months. It was actually doing super well, called The Battle Square, and it was just that. It was like I took a game where I was like, all right, I did it with Champions Road for Super Mario 3D World. I was like, okay, Super Mario 3D World is a really fucking hard game when you get to the last level, Champions Road, and most people like to use power-ups, and it's like, all right, well, I'm going to objectively use Toad, who's the worst character out of the lineup, and do no power-ups. And it was just me in like a Let's Play format where it was the best ofs of me succeeding and failing over and over and over again. And we recorded that one video for about 6 hours straight. It was just me in a dark room, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do, because I'm trying to bring that show back in a more Game Center CX fashion, because like I said, I never wanted to make a review show. I wanted to tell that story of struggling through games, and I tried to incorporate that into The Completionist, and every time I tried it, like a genuine moment of me struggling, all the comments were fake, gay, stop this Let's Play bullshit, I don't believe it, I don't like it, I don't buy it. And I'm sitting here like, I'm actually I'm fucking showing you what it's about, and the audience just was like, that's not you, we don't like that. And that's super struggling to hear, because like that I'm fucking struggling every week.
That is you.
I am doing that. I am showing you. I did a Bloodborne episode. I beat the hardest boss in the game, and we kill each other at the exact same time. And I was like freaking out, because I was like, I fucking, not only did I do it, but he killed me. And it just was like a really fucking cool thing. And I was like, fuck yeah, like that's fucking cool. I'm freaking out. And the comments were like, so when you reshot that, was that like a thing? Like, did you really enjoy hamming it up for us? And it's like, that's why with the Battle Square, and I'm hoping to bring it back more prominently, is I do want to show those stories. I do want to show those sides, because that to me actually is super compelling, because they only see like the stat screen, the stat page, and what I did. They don't actually fucking see what I did to get that one goddamn achievement for 8, 9, 10 hours. And that's why I really like Game Center CX, because that's what the show is about.
It's a narrative.
It's a narrative, and I've been wanting to build that narrative for so long, and I think I finally figured it out. But
it's like the same sensation as like watching a speedrunner.
Yeah,
where like you can watch a speedrunner, it's impressive, but if you have a good commentator who can tell you like, okay, this part right here is really difficult and not many people can do it because there's this frame or whatever, and then let's see if you can do it, and then they do it, then it's like this really easy arc of story where it's like, this act 1, here's the premise, act 2, here's the struggle, act 3, here's the payoff. Like that is so fascinating to me, especially about you, because you do have these stories, it seems, and you've told them. You told us a couple of things even during this podcast where I'm like, I want to see that. And if you have footage of that, it's exciting to know. So I don't know. It's just all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I think I
would watch that show for sure.
You gave me that specific note a couple years ago, and it was something that like I took to heart, because that to me, I guess I'm a very narrative person, right? Like I've experienced a lot of my life where
you're an amazing storyteller. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that.
Thank you.
in person, when you tell stories, you're so I meander and I go off topic and I have tangents and I mumble, but you just like, you for some reason have this instinct of like, all right, here we go, here's the story, and then you just go through it, and I'm just like riveted the whole time that you could tell a story about anything and I would just be into it.
That means a lot coming from you, especially because that's what I wanted The Completionist to be. And I like, it's weird because I want to tell that narrative. I want to tell the story that way. And I think at the time I didn't know how. And so I'm trying to figure that out, but
that's not something that really exists already.
Yeah.
Like live streams exist and speedrunning exists, but you're doing something different than those.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've done live streams of yourself trying to do certain parts of games.
So
that's still like a little bit different.
Well, I think the way it's set up is how you're doing it, right? Like you told me that you do 8 hours of research to find out what to do to complete the game. Like there's your premise. now you know what you have to do, and then you just go through it, and then it's like evaluating like, okay, this part was really easy, and this is where it starts to get really difficult.
These are the major hurdles of this game.
Yeah, and then it starts to get really ridiculous at a certain point of how much time you have to put into it. Like, that's the narrative right there.
Yeah.
Like, I would watch a time lapse of you getting all those Korok seeds in Zelda.
Yeah.
And I think that's
You're just slowly going insane.
That's honestly what we're trying to. We just relaunched our Patreon, and like a lot of that money is going to incorporating just that, you know, putting me in a room for 8 hours, 12 hours with air conditioning, maybe, and hopefully, and just going through the motions of, holy shit, this is really, really hard. And especially because there's so many games where it's like, I just can't fucking do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
I love that. That's so good, because
it's real.
I've had that moment so many times, just like, particularly on GameGrumps, where like, I just can't, and we have to do episodes.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, do we just stop and do a different game? Or like, I don't want to sit here for 4 hours and make Dan wait.
Yeah.
To because I can't fucking beat this. So that's super fascinating, because that's the goal, is like, and you've already invested probably days of work into it, and now you're at this point where the struggle is just ridiculous, but you got to do it, because you know you're not gonna have a video for the end of the week.
Yeah.
That's super fascinating to me.
Yeah, I'm it's definitely a focus that I've been really thinking about, because it's a side of me that not everyone sees, that I want them to see. But like I said, like I guess I have to figure it out the best way, because the audience in the past and my demographics, they've always just thought it was fake, or that I'm phoning it in. And that's super discouraging, because it's like, I've always been the person that like wears their heart on their sleeve. Like, I got no tricks, no deceit. Like, if I'm a bad person, then like, that's just you interpreting it. But I've always been like, this is just who I am. And the fucking struggle gets goddamn real. It sucks. There's some bullshit achievements I could tell you that just were not fun. And I didn't even think to tell those stories, because I thought that they weren't interesting, because like, no one wants to, I guess in my mind, no one wants to see a dude staying up till 6 a.m, like in his underwear in his room, crying because he can't beat this level of Super Meat Boy.
That's the best stuff. I want to see that, because that's what's so fascinating about completing a game, is that there's elements that are just bullshit, and you had to do them.
Yeah.
And for it to just be a footnote where you just see the achievement is sort of doing it doing that struggle a disservice.
Yeah.
Because it's just, if you came to me and said like, I just did this thing, let me tell you this story, and it's just this shitty one achievement, you would have me enthralled for like 20 minutes of you just being like, and I stayed up, and it was 6 a.m. and it was just, and I played it 400 times. I'd be like, fucking really?
Well,
holy shit!
I feel like I keep harping on this one fucking thing you did, but it's the Korok seeds again. That I remember talking to you that you had 3 or 4 different maps of that game that you were cross-referencing.
I bought
like different special editions of the game.
Yeah, I bought. So there's 4 different variants of the Breath of the Wild guide, and I bought all 4 because each map had something wrong with it than the other one, because they were different editions. And the online maps that like IGN and Kotaku that they designed, like none of them were correct 100%. And so like in my video, I like made a joke about it and like showed it all out, but like really the narrative of it was I had 4 fucking maps with Sharpies and markers, and I was like, okay, I got this one all around here, and I'm gonna go over here and do this. And in the end, all of my maps were wrong. Like the maps that I bought officially from Piggyback, all of the maps were wrong. There were Korok seeds that were not on the map that were in the fucking game. And because Korok seeds are so fucking hard to communicate online to people, like the Zelda maps weren't that great either. And so I just had to like instinctually revisit every single Korok location to make sure that I got it. And I'd open the map and I'd look, and sure enough, some of them, the way that they designed the fucking map, they have like these orange border lines that like go along the sections of the map in Zelda, and you can't see it, but some of the Korok colors on the key were the same color as the line, and so you could never tell there was a Korok seed there, because the designers who were creating the fucking map used the same colors. So there were Korok seeds that I didn't know were there, because the fucking borders were on top of them. And so
Did you say there was like text that would be on top of them too sometimes?
there'd be
when they're
text.
labeling them?
Yeah, text, or like, you know how it's like, Zora's domain, like that font would be on top of a Korok seed, so you wouldn't know that it was actually there unless you opened up your map and looked. But when you're trying to find 900 Korok seeds in a 2-week time span or whatever your time frame is, like that shit's intense, and you just have to keep. Like everyone thinks I'm a skilled gamer. It's not that I'm a skilled gamer. It's that I'm a patient gamer. Yeah, I basically like punch the wall until I put a hole in it, and then once I'm done, I move on to the next wall. And that shit sucks because there's no one to talk about it with. No one understands the struggle of it. And to some people, they think I'm bitching about it because like, well, you're just a guy who plays video games for a living. And it's like, yeah, well, then you fucking do what I do because it's not the same goddamn thing.
Well, it's just a premise. It's like
right.
Any comedy bit or whatever. It's like if somebody's getting mad about something, it's like, of course, it's a self-imposed problem.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting to see somebody struggle through that problem.
Yeah.
It's like speedrunners. Like if somebody misses a jump or something, it's very compelling because it's like, obviously it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but at the same time it does matter because you're putting in all this time and that's what you're choosing to do. So it's interesting to see that story unfold. I think it'd be super simple to just have like some intern type person just like take notes of when like things happen. Yeah. And you can just be like, make a note of that, or like when you're like, ugh, and then there's just like what's going through your head and you're like, I'm just fucking, I'm doing this, and this is what's happening with me right now. Like this part is so hard, and then they make a note of that, and then it'd be super easy to throw together in editing, I think.
Fuck yeah, man. That's been something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and
I mean, I don't want to. I'm just talking. I'm not like you should change your show. I'm just saying that's
make it different.
That's super fascinating to me, this stuff, and I don't get to see any of it, and it's like. I don't want to have to like bring you in although whatever, why would that be a problem? Bring you in every week and be like, tell me about how it went,
Hey man, if that's what you want to do, let's fucking do it. I'm a sponge. I want to do it all, especially in that sense of telling those stories, because I really do downplay the narrative a lot.
You have a section of your reviews called The Struggle.
Yeah, the reward and the struggle. I definitely use that.
Could be a 30-minute video just by itself.
Yeah, I think the reason why I have my Let's Play channel, Super Beard Bros, we did Kaizo Mario 1, 2, and 3, and they were our most successful series because it was me doing the same fucking thing every episode on an impossible task, and Alex would be like, oh, you can't do that. And I'm like, watch me, bitch. And then like 10 minutes later, I do it, and we're both yelling and screaming and jumping up and down like, I fucking did it. Yeah. Oh, there's another thing. All right, here we go. Like those moments are always that Let's Play series that we did is like how I imagine the narrative unfold there, because it just naturally happens. Mm-hmm. But I want to do that. I want to tell those stories because they definitely are a part of me, and they're a part of the side that no one sees. They just see the cute little package that I wrap and deliver. But
and maybe someday it'll convince some higher up somewhere to be like, maybe let's not do so many terrible bullshit collectathons.
Yeah,
just to help this one man.
I met the director of Far Cry 3, Jason, who directed For Honor. He created For Honor, and I met him at a press event that I was creating content for. And he walked up to me and was like, your fucking video on Assassin's Creed, man. Like, I wish I could show everyone at the company what it did to you, because like that bugged flag was the worst. We knew about it. I tried to tell them about it. They didn't care because the game went gold. Like, I wish they saw shit like that, because like some of us are paying attention. You just keep yelling, keep screaming, keep doing your thing. And that to me meant a lot, because like not only is he watching the show and has a stake in like wanting to know it, but like as a game developer, to see someone go through that and be like, yeah, that should be fixed, we should take care of that. That means a lot to me, because then it means that, hey, not only would I have to say it has weight, but it actually physically and mentally pisses off people to cause them some distress. Mm-hmm. And so
Your show has objectively bettered the world.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Have you ever considered speedrunning anything?
Since I started getting back into streaming, I've been speedrunning Super Metroid Randomized. It's been so fun. Every item in the game is completely random, and it makes for such an interesting
So the map
experience.
is the same, but which item you get
Every
where?
single item is different.
Because I know they've done that with Zelda for a while.
With Super Metroid's even way harder because there are areas that you just can't progress until you find that item, and so that means that there's a power up. They made it so no matter what item you find or do not find in a certain room, you can't progress until you find them all. And so if you know the game in and out, you'll know, okay, I can eventually get past this door, but it's because I haven't found the item in another room. And so you have to systematically keep track of what you're finding. And you could find like the space jump, the first item in the game. Great, you can jump super high. Most problems are solved right away. But then it's like, oh, you got a missile. Great. That does nothing for me because there's 230 missiles in the goddamn game. So it's like a big troll, but I've been speedrunning that, and I finally did like 2 hours and 35 minutes of just completing beating the game with all 100% items. I was live streaming that for a long time, and that was a lot of fun. And then recently I started doing Super Metroid Rotated, which is the same game, but it's rotated 90 degrees. And so you have to wall jump all over the place.
That's just like you're a Rubik's Cube master. Okay, now let's move you up to like a 5x5 cube.
I'm slowly inching my way into Super Metroid rotated randomized, where the whole thing's rotated and all the items are random. And it's this weird thing because like I know the game so well. So for me, it's not just a challenge. It's like a triumph to get past a room that just won't give in. And those have been so fucking goddamn fun, especially because people make the clips out of them. And
it's like a math problem almost.
Yeah, it really makes you think across the board. And it's just that's the kind of where I'm like finding my resurgence, especially when I'm remaking these 120 new videos, is like, what can I say that I haven't already talked about it that, you know, everyone else has already said? Mario is a platformer. Sonic is kind of a platformer, kind of speed. Like, how do you find your own voice on something you've already talked about? And so I've just been doing a lot of like randomized and crazy ass versions of games. And that's definitely made me realize, oh man, like games that are old are still fun if you just tweak one element to it. Like Mega Man X Buster Only, that's super goddamn fun to do because you're not relying on the weakness that takes out the boss in 3 hits. You're relying on your skill and the triumph of getting these shots off by
knowing the patterns of the bosses and the hitboxes.
Plus it's super fascinating to like break games.
Yeah.
You know, like to be like, so I figured out that, you know, this is really hard and it takes 6 hours. So what I did to work around that is I figured out how to do this, and then there's an exploit where if they jump over here, then they'll get stuck, and that's super fascinating.
Yeah.
I love shit like that.
Yeah, because, I mean, talking about, oh, you just play video games for a living, and it's like, well, it's a problem you kind of create for yourself. I mean, that's the entirety of speedrunning, and speedrunning categories especially, is like, yeah, you have to 100% this game. You could just, I mean, it's... When I think of completing games, I think of The Completionist, I think of your show, and I think of a lot of these speedrunning categories that I've seen where they have to beat the game and get 100%, which almost seems to have evolved just because of tool-assisted speedruns.
Yeah.
Where it's like, or like the Mario 64 half-A presses nonsense, where it's just like the shit you can do when you're running an emulator and have frame-perfect inputs. You can beat all these games in 10 seconds because you just glitch out the game and you like write code in Mario World that the Koopas fly around and it just sends you to the end of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching that the fucking, it's got millions of views as far as I know. The Wind Waker wall jump or whatever.
Getting through the Ganon's castle?
Yeah. The barrier skip. Yeah, that's what it's called.
Because that was just like a myth for a long time.
Yeah, and it's like a 17-minute video and he's just explaining like the whole history of it, and like people could do this and that shaved off 5 minutes and people could do this, but everyone thought, you know, because of the way this works, like you could probably skip through this and like here it is now, this is how you do it. And it's like, oh my god, wow, that's so cool.
Have you seen Summoning Salt's YouTube channel? He's this guy who breaks down the history of individual game speedruns. So it'd be like, here's the history of the Super Mario Kart. That's the speedrun, and it's like a 10-15 minute video where he's like, this is the earliest known recording of this game being speedrun, and he like goes through the history of it, and he kind of keeps the drama of it too. He'll like show, be like, all he had to do was, like, he was on pace to get the record. All he had to do was this one last skip, and he like plays out the Twitch stream, and you get to watch him succeed or fail. And it's so fucking good. He like just hopped up on the scene, relatively recently, but I highly recommend his channel.
That's so funny you say that, because about 3 years ago, when I was like trying to pivot and make more stuff, I was like, a speedrunning history show would be sick, and everyone around me was like, that's really stupid, and I was like, no, like,
it's almost as nerdy gets, but it's all in the telling of it, and it's really compelling when it's done well.
Don't listen to anybody.
Don't listen to anybody.
Seriously, just don't. Like, if you come up with an idea, just do it. Like, fuck what people say.
Well, the reason that this guy,
they're not you, and they're also not like. Most of what makes an idea good is that you're charged about it. If nobody else is charged about the idea, then they won't think it's good. Like that's what defines an idea. Like if it gets people excited, and like if you're excited about it, that's one person. And if you see it a certain way in your head, obviously explaining it isn't going to do it justice. You just have to do what you see in your head. And then people will get charged about it.
So this channel, it's called Summoning Salt is the guy's channel. He has 80,000 subscribers, and he is a Mike Tyson's Punch-Out speedrunner.
Oh, cool.
And his first, so all the videos on his channel were like his attempts at doing Mike Tyson, etc. Because I think he only does the Mike Tyson round. I don't think he plays the entire game.
Yeah.
And so his first history video was the history of that category that he holds the world record in.
Yeah.
So the video ends with like, I hold the world record. That's the end of the video.
Yeah.
And like showing the different people. And then I think that just got shared around within that community, maybe like the bigger speedrunning community. And then he did a couple videos after that where he did different games that he doesn't run himself, but he's just really embedded in that scene.
He knows the people. And
And then it bled onto, I think Reddit was where I found him. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's so fucking cool. Because it's I don't know. It's detailing that struggle, kind of tying it back into what we were talking about. It's like, it's not just, oh, I did this thing. It's like, no, this is hundreds of hours of time. And it doesn't matter that it's this self-imposed challenge. It's a challenge that you set for yourself.
Yeah.
And overcoming those obstacles is just a very human story, no matter the context.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can... How many times have you been hanging out with friends and they're just like, do you think I can throw this coin on that thing? And then it's just like, I don't know. And then immediately you're enthralled, and it's just like, oh my God, you were so close. It's just storytelling. That's all it is. Invented. Yeah.
One of my favorite things I ever did when I first started YouTube was I was doing a live stream, and Greg at the time was like, yo, I bet you can't beat Mario 1-1 blindfolded. And I was like, yeah, I can. And he's like, yeah, right, whatever. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I turned around, and in like 3 attempts I did it, and we like freaked out. And I was like, oh shit, I did it. Like, we're all freaking out. And then the next day Kotaku picked it up, and it was like, bearded man beats Mario 1-1 blindfolded. And I got so bummed, because it's like, yo, man, like, I have a YouTube channel. Like, you spelled my name wrong. Like, I actually had presence in the world, and you just were like...
Don't get us started.
Listen, I've got a long list of gripes with Kotaku. Maybe it's just YouTubers that they don't like, but they hate me for some reason. They hate me. They have never done a positive article about me. When I was making cartoons, they never posted any of my cartoons. They fucking spell GameGrumps wrong all the time. They have a category on their website for GameGrumps, and it's spelled wrong. It's spelled GameGrumps. They posted about Dream Daddy. They didn't mention GameGrumps once. They do not like me. I don't know why.
Also,
I don't know what I did. Ross.
Yeah, Ross.
Ross had the top level in Mario Maker. And some kid, Ross had a level where the premise was that you have to kill Yoshi for every challenge. Mm-hmm. And then this kid beat each challenge without having to kill Yoshi. And they posted this video, and they just referred to the level creator, Ross, as some Mario Maker troll. And it's like, bitch, we played that episode on GameGrumps and it has like millions of views, and that's why this kid knows about this level.
It's like, on the one hand, I know
have some
it's
fucking
hard.
respect.
I know it's hard to keep track of the internet. Every other day I find a YouTube channel with 15 million views and I've never heard of them before. So it's impossible to know everyone. But
at the same
it also
time,
takes like 30 seconds to Google.
but at the same
If you're a
time,
journalist, that's your job.
like at the same time,
I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit.
this community, as we've learned over the years, is so much smaller than people realize. Like if I ever need to talk to a YouTuber you guys know, or vice versa, you'd be like, hey, do you know them? Can you bridge the gap? And it's like, yeah, of course I know them. I did this and this with them. And we all know and support each other.
That's like the YouTube bubble. I'm talking about like the YouTube bubble as it relates to the gaming journalism bubble.
Sure, but at the same time, like
It's a different subject entirely.
that community of journalists, I'm sure all know each other, and I'm sure that a lot of them watch all of our stuff or have friends that watch our stuff. And a simple Google search, like if I put in 4 to 8 hours a week in just like realizing how to complete a fucking game, you can take 15 minutes to Google GameGrumps at the very least to figure out what the fuck that is. And the fact that a company like that just doesn't do it or does it out of spite, like that's and you can't act like they don't know what YouTubers are, because you see them bashing PewDiePie or putting our friends' videos on their site, and it's like, come the fuck on. Like, you look at that one circle of person in the center and it's like, oh, they know all these people. Like, of course we're all connected. You can't play that card of like, oh, I don't know what a Game Grump is, or I don't know what a completionist is. Like, there's too much evidence out there at this point to not know who we are.
The weird thing was seeing the articles about Dream Daddy from gaming sites. Like, there were articles about Dream Daddy that were from, like, the BBC wrote a goddamn article about Dream Daddy. It's like, I'm not expecting the BBC to Google what Game Grumps is. I don't know if they mentioned Game Grumps in their article.
I mean, at the very least, it's like it says a Game Grumps game, and on Steam it says produced by Game Grumps. So
produced and developed by Game Grumps on the Steam page.
If they were like an article, like a publication like the BBC, if they wanted to do a proper article, they would say like Dream Daddy published by Game Grumps,
like what
just
is
by
that?
Default, you know?
Yeah.
Or and then they would Google what is Game Grumps. Oh, it's a YouTube channel. Oh, we can learn about it. Oh, they have a Wikipedia page. We can read that for 5 seconds.
It's just fascinating to me because I feel like, especially in today's day and age, like we want the journalists to be on our side. We want to work with them in some capacity. We want that ability to be like, yeah, I know these guys there and there, and we respect each other's work. But they make it harder and harder because to them, their world is dog eats dog, and for us, it's like we're more community centric oriented. At least with the gaming sphere, like all of us,
we're not competing with each other. We're all,
if anything, we're helping each other. We're collaborating together, and we're in each other's videos and music videos and albums.
If we share subscribers, that doesn't hurt either.
It only helps us across the board. And I mean,
it's not like TV where my show's at 7 p.m. You can't have your show at 7 p.m.
Yeah, on demand is like what the internet is now. Like you don't have to watch Rick and Morty every Sunday to know that like in 3 hours it's going to be on Amazon. Like you can watch it whenever you want, and that's what YouTube is. You can watch it whenever you want. And I guess in their world, they have 48 hours to post the same 17 articles about Assassin's Creed Origins that everyone else is reading. Yeah. Like, did you know that you could fire a bow in Assassin's Creed? Great. I found that out because I read the other 30 articles on the internet that said that the main character gets a goddamn bow. Like, that's not news. That's just like fact. But because that's like what their world is, it's way different than ours. And I think they kind of treat us as if we're competitors. And I think that may lead to why there's that animosity when really we're actually happy when they talk about us, but we just want them to.
We don't do what they do at all.
Exactly. And
it's an interesting theory.
Yeah.
It's just a theory though.
It's just a theory.
Well, I didn't mean it that way. It was just
game journalism theory.
It's an interesting. I wonder if that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Not everyone's in such a rush. They don't have time to fact check.
Well, I mean,
or typo check. Spell check.
GameGrumps.
It's not even a word.
How did they spell it?
It's GRUIMPS. GameGrumps.
I don't take it personally. I just think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's so bizarre.
We should do an entire podcast about gaming journalism.
Oh, that'll go over well.
That'll go super well.
Let's do a podcast about Gamergate.
Yeah. Let's create a hashtag.
You are asking.
Is that a safe space to talk about?
Yo.
Will that ever be okay to talk
about that, aka how to lose all your subs in a day? Go for it.
Oh, don't know. It was not Gamergate, but I was talking to Jared a while back that both of us despise Kingdom Hearts. Mm-hmm. So we're like, let's just do a Let's Play of Kingdom Hearts and just burn down everything we have. Because all of our subscribers will leave us, we'll lose everything.
I swear to God.
So you're not allowed to criticize Kingdom Hearts.
I swear to God, Dan is constantly like, we should play Kingdom Hearts, like publicly and on GameGrumps episodes, and I'm like, Dan, please don't make me do that. Dan,
I like what we have.
there's not gonna be a scenario where that's gonna work out well.
I like being able to keep the lights on. I like being able to make rent. You don't want me to play Kingdom Hearts.
Like, I cannot sit down there for 300 episodes and just be like, this is great.
Roxas, what are you doing? You've talked about your fake fan page, though, right?
The Psyx fan club?
Yeah.
I think that's still up, isn't it?
Yeah. You showed me it somehow.
I made a website when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. I made a website called the Psyx fan club.
In the fucking GeoCities site.
Yeah, in the style of like a shitty old GeoCities homemade webpage
from like 1998.
And I'm just this character who's obsessed with Psyx, the absolute most boring character in any fucking Kingdom Hearts game. He has no personality. He does nothing.
That's saying something for Kingdom Hearts. Oh snap! Oh,
but
damn,
he's one of the 13 or whatever.
The
nobody
Organization 13.
Yeah, he's one of them. And
yeah,
he's like the inconsequential. He doesn't have any dialogue and doesn't say any. He's like something about the moon, and then you fight him.
He's got like pink hair or something, right?
It's blue
hair.
His hair is spiked, and then he has like
the pink hair guy's actually cool.
He has hair pulls on the side, and his hair is spiked short, but he has a mullet, and then he has like this like sunflower sword. And it's taller than he is, so he can't like hold it properly, and it's just dumb all throughout the board. But I wrote this whole fucking webpage about how cool he is, and comparing him to other characters, and I'm like, these guys are dumb. He's fucking cool. Fucking Psyx, that's his name, Psyx.
To be fair, and this is just going back to like the name of the show, like GameGrumps, like how, like when you guys talk, if you're gonna say something bad about a game, like the notion, it's at the door. Like you know what I mean? Like I wonder if they're gonna talk bad about this game. Yeah, there's a good chance because the name of the group is the GameGrumps. Yeah. Like,
well, I mean, you know, it's there's a give and take to it, right? Like I think people are drawn to it a little bit and enjoy watching me bitch about games.
Well, you need the yin and the yang. You need the grump and the not so grump.
Exactly.
When it's all grump, people get sour, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, because clearly Dan's like the favorite character because he's always positive. So that's where it comes from. Is people are like, well, you know, he likes it and I like it, so fuck you, man.
Would like it if Aaron wasn't sitting there shitting on it all day.
But if it were me and Dan and we were just like, this is lovely, like the whole time, people would be like, all right, what's next? Like, so I think there is sort of like a yin and a yang, like you say, to it, where it's like people are drawn to the Schadenfreude of. I mean, that's why Mario Makers are still our most popular series. Like every episode, we have hundreds of episodes, and each one has 1 million views, just because people just like seeing me fucking go crazy over something that's ridiculously hard.
Yeah,
you fucking freak.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the shit that comes out of your mouth, Aaron.
It's maddening, man. Yeah. That wasn't even improv. That was from Metal Gear Awesome 5, which will never come out. There's a scene in it where Snake calls Kaz a freak because he's missing all his limbs.
So you were referencing your own cartoon
that never came out. Yeah. No, I have it. I'm making it. I have the audio and everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you gonna finish that?
Fuck, I don't fucking know. It's like 7 minutes long, and I can't hold myself to any standard above like the best that I could possibly do. So if I ever actually produced it, it would take fucking a year. And I don't have that time, so it just sits on my hard drive, half storyboarded.
Would you have to do it yourself, or could you get someone else to animate it?
I don't know.
I know it would kill you inside, but it would exist.
I don't know. That's the whole. Like, I would love it to exist, but would it really be the same if somebody else made it?
It wouldn't.
And I could storyboard it out with the poses and stuff, but that's still a shitload of work. And knowing me, I'd probably just rough animate it anyway as I'm doing it without even realizing it. And then I'm like, oh well, I just animated it. Oh whoops.
Well, you could at least get someone to color it.
Now I'm fucking 35, and I made a cartoon that's gonna make $0, and
thanks YouTube.
And someone will say, say like, this wasn't as funny as the other ones, and then that's it, and it's over.
You're not prejudging yourself, but you have that like feeling of like, why bother? Because
I mean, look, man, we just produced a fucking video game, and that like, yeah, it was like very good for the company, but also like I gave Vernon a huge chance to prove himself and to have something under his belt, and we hired a bunch of programmers and stuff. So it's like, how is that worse than me hunkering in front of a fucking computer for a year, making something that somebody's gonna watch once and then that's it, and then it's 7 minutes of nothing, and it took me fucking forever. Like, how is that better than what we just did there?
It's 7 minutes of special. It's special.
It'll be funny, yeah, and then people will be like, "He's back," and
I'll tune in for the next one in 1 month.
Yeah, exactly, and so. You know, it's not worth it. I think.
Well, it has to be a passion project. That's what you said.
Yeah.
It has to come with, if you know you'll like it, you got to make it.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And that's also what's difficult about it, because I'm in a position where like it's where the fuck, how did this come up when we were talking about completing games?
We're there, dude. We're there. To be fair,
I was ready to wrap up the podcast. Like, we just took a sharp turn into gaming journalism.
This is the same shit though. Like what you experienced, what I experienced. It's just different.
Yeah, this
different
is your
things.
struggle, Aaron.
Yeah.
Like,
all right, fine. What the fuck was I saying? What the hell? Oh yeah, passion, right. So I'm passionate about a great many things. That's the thing. It's just time. It's just time and effort. And it's like, if I say I'm working on Metal Gear Awesome 5 right now, then I have to be like, hey, I'm carving out 6 months where I'm not doing anything else. I'm not doing any other passion project or anything right now. And I'm passionate about helping people create stuff. I'm passionate about giving everyone in the company a fair shake at something. I'm passionate about all these fucking and I'd have to put all that aside for this one thing.
You're touring, you're making music, you're doing 100 things.
And it's selfish and it's stupid, and it's like, I don't know if it's the thing that I'm the most passionate about. So it's like that's why it's sort of on the back burner, right? Like I feel like it's been a fucking great year, and I'm super happy with things that we've accomplished. So there's just a duality to it, because, you know, I go on the internet and I read stuff everything's read in my own voice. That's how it's true for everybody. So it just feels like this one thing that's coming at me. So I see all this hypocritical shit coming at me of like, I love what you do right now, and then fuck you for selling out and getting away from animation or whatever. And it's like, so that's like one voice to me, which is super frustrating. And I forgot the point of where I was going with that, but the point is,
it's about passion, right? Like how are you supposed to be passionate about something where you feel that kind of pressure of someone who's just gonna treat you that way?
Yeah, exactly. Most of the drive behind why I would want to make another cartoon is because like it's like proving that I can still do it, but
that's not why you should do anything.
Yeah, but I don't need to.
Yeah.
So that's why it hasn't come out, because I keep going through that argument in my mind, and then that side always wins.
You're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
I loved that the interview you did with Krendor, the Fishing with Krendor video, where you like talked about your grassroots for Newgrounds, and because I could see and hear your passion about what you love to make. And I think like, to me, like knowing you and who you are, I would say your passion doesn't necessarily lie in like creating cartoons so much as you just like to create things. And I think like following that intuition of going to where your passion is at all times, like that's like your job. Like that's a cool thing to be proud of. And I think like if your passion's not there now, then like let it be on the back burner. And a year from now, if you're like, yo, I want to animate again, then like that's your passion and that's your job. Your job is to follow your passion. And these people listening to this and your community around you, like not only will they support you, but they're going to be the ones who are going to pre-order 9 months in advance. They're going to be the ones sitting out in the streets being like, yo, where's that passion at? I'm ready to go. Yeah. And I think like that's a real thing. Like and I think, I mean, I could say confidently, like, you know, I'd support you any way I could. Like,
well, I appreciate that. And
yeah,
it's also about like, man, you only get one life, dude. And if I spend 60 years making cartoons, it's like great, but also I haven't done anything else. So I feel like with animation, it's like I've already done it. You know, like I spent years doing it, and I've proved that I can do it, and I got what I got out of it. And if I went back to do animation, it would be nostalgic, but I don't know that I would get anything new out of it. Whereas, like, I've never made a fucking game, and now we made a game, and it's like I never went on tour, and now we're going on tour, and I never whatever, and I have all these different experiences that are sort of enriching my life, which is something that I've always liked. And plus, like, I don't know, there's a little bit of fuck you energy in everything I do. Well, it's true.
Yeah.
Because everything that I've ever done.
I totally get that.
Everything that I've ever done is because somebody said I couldn't do it. Or they didn't listen to me. Or
I bet you can't make Metal Gear Awesome 5.
Gotcha. Fuck you. No,
fuck you.
No, it's like voiceover or anything, or producing a cartoon or whatever. It's you know, it's like I'm sitting there working my ass off making a cartoon, and I know I can make cartoons, and I go to some studio and I'm like, I want to make a cartoon for them. And they're like, oh, I don't know who the fuck you are. And I'm like, well, fuck you. I can make a cartoon. And I just do it. You know, like, so that's what it's always been.
I'm the same fucking way. Jared called me out on it. Like, he's like, if you ever want Jirard to do anything, tell him he can't do it and he'll do it. And he's right. Like, I'm the same fucking way. I think one of my old buddies was like, you can't complete a game a week. And I was like, fuck you. Watch me do it, bitch. Like, you can't stop me. And it's like, here I am now. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm still doing this. Like, we live in a society where people are either like, their confidence is conceived as ego. But I really believe that, like, confidence is confidence, and if someone's doubting you, like you said earlier, like, you shouldn't let anyone tell you the idea is bad. You should just, like, commit to it and prove to it, and that's where the passion comes from.
And then with hindsight, you can realize, yeah, that idea was pretty bad, but at least I made it.
At least you made it. At least you did
exactly.
it. At least you put it out there, and that's the thing. Like,
I had the experience.
90% of life is just showing up, and a lot of people don't show up. Like, you just have to fucking put in the work. Yeah. And it's hard and it's shitty, but like, at least you did it. At least you can walk away and say, I did this thing. And not very many people can say that. It's so easy to criticize something unless you've experienced something to go with it.
And then at which point it's like, why the fuck would you criticize it? You would just talk to each other about your experiences. Yeah. Be like, do you remember, did you have it? I did too. And
yeah.
Wow, cool. We're connecting and having a good time.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, fuck you, can't do it. I'm going to go hide in my room and not have friends. Oh. That's me. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway. Wow, what a great tangent.
Yeah, this has been probably the coolest podcast I've been on. It's just been so fun hanging out with you guys.
It's pretty loosey goosey.
Yeah, I think it's just us hanging out because that's something we don't get to do very often because we're all so goddamn busy.
I know.
But
yeah,
every time I see you at a party, we talk for like 3 hours, and then we go, we should hang out.
Yeah, I think
at the next party.
Every time Arin and I hang out, we hang out for like 8 to 12 hours together, and it's like at 9 a.m. the next day, and we're like, oh shit, we have stuff to do.
Yeah,
it's just because like there's never time to actually hang out.
Well, it's also, man, it's LA, man. It's so big.
Yeah,
you know, it's like we're technically in the same county, I guess. But we're not. We're
in the same county with like what 20 million other people.
It's like I gotta plan a week in advance. Like I'm going to where Jirard lives.
Yeah,
and I'm going to stay there all day and then come back because it's this fucking voyage. Speaking of which,
30 audiobooks on the way.
Yeah.
Keep me sane.
And speaking of which, I appreciate you coming out here.
Absolutely. Yeah, anytime. You guys always have my axe for anything. You know that.
Whenever people come out to our office, we're like, oh my God, thank fucking God. I have to go somewhere. It's like, yeah, we just had Funhouse in here today, and they were like way the fuck all the way across LA. And
yeah, they're by me.
No one's near us.
Yeah, and we're
out on the mountain.
I was just like, thank you guys for coming here. It's so awesome that you came here. And there's 5 of you and you came here. It's amazing. Yeah.
Thanks, Jirard.
Thanks,
Hey,
bud.
tell us where people can find you and what you're.
Oh,
what
shit.
you're
Oh shit! Oh man!
Plug all your
away.
things.
Plug everything. Okay, you can find me at
YouTube.com/CompleteEPete.
Complete Pete. Yo,
Is that taken?
it is now. I'm sure by the time you said that channel already has its 100K plaque in the goddamn mail.
Oh my god, I want to make CompleteEPete.
You can find me at That One Video Gamer. You can find me at Super Beard Bros. And you can find, if you like music, Big Bad Bosses. We're a video game villain boy band.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, album 2 is in the works.
What?
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited
Solid
too.
album, dude.
Same crew?
Thank you. Almost the same crew. I think we're either going to try to expand it a bit and include more members, or change who's involved. We really wanted to do like a video game villain female girl group, but there's not that many female villains out there that I could make it iconic enough to make it work. But we'll see. I'm definitely
Evola.
Who's evil?
From Space Channel 5.
Oh,
She's like a...
is she evil Ulala?
yeah, she's like a robot. Evil Ulala.
That's a
Pudding. She's from Space Channel 5. All of my vernacular comes from Space Channel 5. So if you need any Space Channel 5
You
villains,
got it.
I got plenty of them. You can put Space Michael in there.
Great.
He's Michael Jackson, but he's in space.
right.
no shit.
And then when
Everyone's
he
called Space their name.
yeah,
Oh, I
and
see.
then when he shows up, Ulala's like Space Michael, and he's like, "Hoo!" and then he dances with you for a while, and that's it. That's all. Anyway, yeah, female bosses. That's cool.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate your guys' time. I know
course,
you're
man.
busy working a billion things, but
Right
yeah,
back at you.
absolutely.
I'm Barry. I'm Razadoop on Twitter.
Oh, and I'm
Do
Arin.
GameGrumps stuff.
I'm on GameGrumps, YouTube.com/GameGrumps, and on Twitter I'm at EgoRaptor,
Yeah.
EGORAPTOR. And I'm also at Cutie Saturday. Follow my hashtag on Twitter. Follow hashtag Cutie Saturday.
Jesus. Just peeked the fuck out of the audio there.
Sorry.
Perfect.
You like your cuties, and I don't blame you.
Yeah, man.
Some talented goddamn artists out there.
Well, I just like promoting people's art.
It's all fucking good.
I like
all
when
of it is.
I like when the internet can be nice.
Yeah.
Makes me
Yeah.
happy.
It's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I want, man. I want that feeling of like when you had like a forum with 20 people again, and it's all just like, check out this thing I just need. Wow, that's so cool. How did you do that? Oh, I did that. Wow, that's amazing. I want to try that. And then it's like I just want that again.
Nowadays, it's like, actually, and then like
Yeah.
critique.
Yeah,
Don't even bother.
yeah. Well,
Anyway, thank you, everyone.
bye, people.
Bye, everyone.
The 20th ending.
Yes.
Stay fly.
Lord of the Rings, the podcast. Just fade to white.